My name is Karan Chechi. I am the founder CEO of TechSci Research. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all at today's special session organized by TechSci Research in collaboration with Breast Cancer Survivorship Foundation. We deeply value your presence here. At TechSci, we believe that our responsibility goes beyond just creating reports and businesses. We recognize the need to contribute meaningfully to society. When we hear the word cancer, it often brings fear or pity. But rather than just standing by, we thought, how can we make a difference? How can we help the society we serve? These questions led to the launch of an initiative very close to our heart, Texai Goes Pink. October is globally recognized as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and pink is the color symbolizing this cause. This initiative was born from a desire to not only raise awareness, but to take active steps in spreading the word about breast cancer and its prevention. Throughout this month, we have been and are still conducting various activities designed to create awareness about breast cancer. In support of the cause, our team is even making an effort to wear shades of pink as a visual reminder to everyone. Today, we are honored to welcome two incredible women who have dedicated their lives to fight against breast cancer. So, first, let me introduce Carmen Brown Marshall, Chief Visionary Founder and CEO of the Breast Cancer Survivorship Foundation. Carbon has tirelessly worked to help underrepresented women prevent and survive a breast cancer diagnosis. Not only is she a survivor herself, but she has also authored the powerful book Looking Well Beyond Breast Cancer, which she released during the pandemic. Carmen truly understands the challenges and emotions that come with this disease and uses her personal experience to inspire and support others. We are so fortunate to have her with us today. So, thank you so much, Carmen, for joining. We also have joined by Kenyatta Lucas, a woman of many talents with a background as a scientist, technical consultant, and professional development coach. Kenyatta joined the BCSF board after recognizing their passion and mission to increase the number of breast cancer survivors. She works closely with Carmen, other board members, volunteers to advocate for education, empower women of color about breast health. Her dedication to this cause is both admirable and inspiring. In today's session, we'll be discussing key topics around breast cancer, how these incredible women are making a difference in creating awareness and the current scenario in the states. Most importantly, we will explore how we here in India can learn from their experience and implement some of their strategies to make a meaningful impact in our society. If this initiative, Texai Goes Pink, can help save even one life, we will have achieved something significant. So, without any further ado, let's start the session. I will be posing a few questions, and either of our esteemed guests are welcome to share their thoughts. So, thank you so much. And let's begin with a very basic question, I would say, that goes to both of you. Can you give us a brief about yourself and your journey with the breast cancer? So, Carmen, let's start with you first.
So thank you first, TechSci, for having us and including us in this amazing effort. We celebrate you. So to start with, I was a person, a woman who was married. I was in the height of my career. I was enjoying life. But we get those annual exams, Karen. And when I went for my annual exam that year, it might have been February. I always tell women use your birthday as a date to schedule your wellness exams. I had done that, and this was 2 months post when I was doing my self breast exam, which I was doing every month, where I noticed something different. Well, I had had a mammogram just 2 months prior, and here was something different. So I went to my doctor, and 3 surgeries later, followed by eight rounds of chemotherapy, followed by 27 cycles of radiation, a situation that caused me to lose my thick, beautiful hair, lose my eyebrows, lose all the hair on my body. I felt like a Martian. and I felt abnormal. But you know what? That was 20 years ago. Here I am today. So that was began my journey. And then in 2016, I just saw there's so many women being missed. There's so many women who are so afraid to even think about the possibility of having a diagnosis. So that's how it began for me. And I'm sure we'll have more to share. But I pass to my colleague, Dr. Lucas.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, so for me, it was definitely the passion of Carmen. I just happened to volunteer one day for an event that she was having, and I had no idea what I was getting into. And I heard her story, and it was one of the most touching stories that I've ever heard, and it was heartfelt. About her sharing her story about her diagnosis as well as the recovery and thriving through it. And it was funny because I think about a year later, she reached out to me and was like, you know what? I'm starting the breast cancer survivorship. Do you want to be a part of it? And I said, oh, why didn't you ask me yesterday? So it was one of those things where it was natural. And hearing the stories of women, it really does keep me going and makes me understand why I do what I do. So yeah, so that's how I got started.
That's great. That's great. I truly admire your passion. Thank you so much. So, Carmen, how do you define survivorship in the context of breast cancer, particularly from your experience in the States?
That's a great question, Karen. And I have to ask you before we go any further, what's your connection to breast cancer? I want to know that story, and then I'll answer your question.
Okay, so my story, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2020, and I think that was the first time when we realized that how it impacts a family, and obviously we were devastated when we heard the news, and but I mean, luckily she's all recovered now, and she's all fine. So that was my connection, and that's why I feel so connected with this, this topic. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that because we've got our pink and we know we want to go beyond the pink. And with that, I'll answer your question about survivorship. And this comes up a lot. And I often ask myself the same question 20 years ago. Well, when am I a survivor? When do I get that label? And what is a survivor? And I thought a doctor, Dr. Susan Dumchick, who's at the University of Pennsylvania, she said to me, the day you're diagnosed and you decide you want to fight this disease and live, you're now a survivor. I thought that works for me. And that's the definition I'm going to talk with women about, and I'm going to encourage them that survivorship, it's a journey. It's not a destination that you get to and you're done. It is as long as you are breathing, as long as you are on this planet, it is you are part of the journey. As once you're diagnosed with breast cancer, you're a survivor, and that survivorship is your journey from that one data point throughout your entire life. And I tell you this one story. And this just happened this week. An 82-year-old woman came to me and she said, well, I was a breast cancer survivor, but I don't get mammograms anymore because my doctor told me that I don't need to get them anymore and I'm no longer a survivor. And I thought, well, let's think about that. You're still alive. You were once diagnosed with breast cancer. You must always check your health. You must always keep yourself a priority. So, survivorship included in that is making yourself a priority, making sure that you are taking care of your health. So, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. So, what are some of the common misconceptions about breast cancer survivorship? Like you just talked about one. Anything else that you can talk about?
Absolutely. Some people think survivorship is once I'm once I go for treatment, I'm done. But that's not the case. It's a continuum. That's something you're always on. But you asked the misconception. I want to be sure I'm answering the question. Misconceptions around breast cancer.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So one of
Yes.
the biggest misconceptions is I don't have it in my family, so I don't need to be concerned. Well, let me tell you, I'm one of 8 children. My mother's one of 13. There are 64 in my tribe, my family, and no one had breast cancer. Another misconception is, well, I'm healthy, I work out, I exercise. Well, I exercise 5 days a week. Some women will enjoy this. I wore probably a modest dress size, right? Super healthy. I ate well. That didn't matter. So a misconception is as long as I'm doing everything they tell me to do, breast cancer will never come to my door. That's a misconception. And finally, the greatest misconception is if I just ignore it, it will go away. It won't. So you have to take action. Those are my.
True.
What about you, Dr.
Yeah, and I'll also add to that. Another misconception is I'm too young to get breast cancer, and that is totally not true. We're finding that women are getting it earlier and earlier. We've heard stories of people in their 20s, even one that was almost a teenager that had breast cancer. So I think that that's a common misconception. Is I'm too young to get breast cancer. So.
Great,
And
great. So, Kiryana, I wanted to ask you that can you discuss the importance of mental health support during survivorship, especially considering both American and Indian cultural attitudes?
So definitely, I definitely think mental health is so important. How you see yourself and how you portray yourself and your internal thoughts are really important of how you move forward in the world. So mental health is one of those things that is kind of cliche sometimes, and it's taboo per se. But I definitely think that having a connection and having wellness procedures and techniques such as yoga and meditation in your everyday, as well as the support of your friends and your family, are very important. As well as that positive self-talk. I'm really big on what you say to yourself and what you say in the universe is it kind of comes back to you, and it really does shape the way that you think of yourself. So mental health is very important, and I think that those women that are going through it, that are having mental health, um, you know, they're having those negative thoughts. I think getting support and actually naming it and saying that something, I need help. I think that that's really important when it comes to getting the support in mental health.
And how do you address the fear of recurrence among survivors?
Wow, that's a great one. And I will start by saying, if you're diagnosed, if you have the misfortune of being diagnosed, the first thing, the very first thing you have to say is don't own it. Meaning, don't say um, that I could possibly get a reoccurrence. And let me give you an example. I just spoke with a survivor yesterday, and she said, my cancer came back. So just like Dr. Lucas said, she used her words to put it in the universe. And I don't know that there's data to back this up, but if you have in your mind that reoccurrence can occur, it typically will, right? 20 years later, I never say it's a reoccurrence. I'm healed. I'm whole. Breast cancer is 95% curable when detected early. So that's the message that the breast cancer survivorship tries to get out to people. That's why you have to get checked. That's why you have to be screened. But the fear of reoccurrence, I have to also say it's real because from the medical professions, they put it out there. And that is something that comes into someone's sphere. And as Dr. Lucas mentioned about your mental health, that plays a role in it. I decided when I was diagnosed, I'm going through this one time and one time only. I also decided to surround myself with beautiful things and with things that spoke to life, plants, breathing, outdoors, walking. And when I went into treatment centers that were um, affected my mental health, I made a note of that and tried to do whatever I could to change, right? I brought beautiful things. I made sure I had flowers. I made sure that I had a nice fragrance because our five senses play a huge role in making sure that reoccurrence does not come back, that reoccurrence or that occurrence does not come back. Cancer is, breast cancer is a very complex disease. All cancers are very complex. It's not just one thing. These are just cells that they are supposed to have the program to last for a certain time. And then these cells, for whatever reason, they decide they're going to not behave. They're going to keep multiplying. And not only that, they're going to start grabbing blood supplies. They're going to try to take over your body, right? But it starts with your mind. In your mind, the mind that can only hold one thought at a time. You must keep positive thoughts in your mind. Every time that negative comes to your mind, you have to replace it with at least two or three positives. So the thought of fear, the fear of a breast cancer diagnosis is real. Well, it can appear real, and that's when I'll go to my little acronym. Fear is false evidence appearing real. It's false evidence. So why are you holding that in your mind? So I hope that I didn't ramble, but I wanted to put a lot of things out there for people to consider. So don't be afraid. Don't even confess the word RE, occurrence, because you're inviting it back.
Right. Kenyatta, would you like to add something to it?
So I definitely think that, like Carmen stated, that reoccurrence is something that you, like I said, speaking it into existence. But there's also the reality of, you know, things may happen. And I'll say, when you drive a car, when you go out in the street, there's a chance that something will happen. So you can't live your life in fear that this will happen. Your, like I said, your friends, your family, the music you listen to, like, enjoy the moment. And I always say that we're on a journey. So enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride, enjoy the roller coaster, whatever it is, and keep it moving. So that's what I would say.
Great, great. So, Carmen, you were talking about that, moving around and those kind of things. So, what do you think? How what role does physical activity play in survivorship for women in the U.S. or how might it translate to the Indian context?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I think your culture is very colorful, and that's a compliment. You use all the colors in the rainbow and make sure that you do. But the movement to get out and walk, not everyone has a gym membership, not everyone buys equipment for fitness, but if you have legs, you can get out and walk. If you have a bicycle or a bike, you can get out and ride a bike. No matter, even if you can't walk, even if you are relegated to a chair, you can move your arms, you can lift your legs, whatever body part can move, you must move. We were designed to move. We're not static individuals. So movement is incredibly important to survivorship. One of the things that I stress when before I was diagnosed, I was always a walker. I walk to this day. I have a small pet. I even take my pet with me on these 5 mile walks. And he tries to get tired. I'm like, no, no, no. We have to keep going. We can sit down and take a rest, but you have to stay active. Find things that you enjoy. Make sure that that activity includes activity with other people. When you go for that walk, take a friend, take a family member, and do things that include you moving around. Even if you go out to eat, after you eat, walk around the block a couple of times. So that's important to keep movement to be a survivor. Keep moving.
Great, great. So, how can survivors manage long-term side effects of treatment?
How can survivors manage long-term side effects of treatment?
Yeah.
Well, That's a complicated question that I'm going to try to focus on the words side effects. There's side effects to everything, but you have to make sure that they are not the focus of your attention. So long-term side effects, they do exist. And this is where I can be a little personal with you. I can kind of share some things that does happen. Maybe some of the things you used to enjoy, you no longer enjoy. That could be a side effect. Maybe your emotions are different after you're a breast cancer survivor. I know here in the US they have a chart for for nurses and clinicians to chart your emotions. They go from depressed to happy. They have anger. And doing one of the greatest side effects, which is long term, is managing your emotions. Fighting depression, fighting anger, fighting the why me, and trying to keep yourself on that spectrum of happy. There are a lot of side effects that that are long term. And I would say many of them you have to talk with your doctor. And at the same time, you have to remember you are the expert of you. You're the expert. If you're feeling something, don't ignore it. If you sense something, don't ignore it. You're the expert on you. So when you go to your doctor, first find a doctor you can trust. But then once you form that relationship, have that conversation and be very detailed. Tell your doctor, sometimes I just burst into tears. Sometimes I'm just super angry and I just snap and I'm quick with people. And other times I find it hard to get out of bed, and let them guide you and help you. So that's my answer.
Great, great, great. Right. So, Kinyana, I have this question for you. So, how important is community support for breast cancer survivors in the US? And what can be learned by the Indian community, according to you?
Yeah, so I definitely think family and friends are definitely really important. I think community, when you're going through anything, is trying to find those people that are positive. You know, we always have those people in our lives that are always the naysayers, the ones that are always talking negative, the ones that are always saying, yeah, but, leave those for right now. I'm not going to say leave them alone forever, just for right now, while you're going through this, definitely surround yourself with positive. I will also say community when it comes to getting out, like Carmen said, finding going out with your pet. It doesn't have to be a human; it could be your pet. Definitely going out and surrounding yourself with community is very important. And I definitely know that in both cultures, in Indian as well as American culture, getting out and just having your family and like you said, walking after dinner and all of that good stuff in that community that surrounds you is something that really does lift your spirits. And I will also say it's not only about lifting your spirits, but um, be very honest with yourself. If you need help, tell somebody you need help. A lot of people don't want to see you go through, the things that you're going through. So, and people are genuinely kind, and they generally want to see you do well. So, being very honest with yourself and being very honest with your community and those that are supporting you, definitely support yourself and surround yourself with those people. So I would say from what can be learned is, you're not on this earth by yourself, and lean on who you need to lean on.
Right, great. So, do you think that these community self-help groups is something that really helps?
Yeah, like the and I'll talk from personal experience. going through grief and different things like that from a personal standpoint, and going into there where someone, like you said, in a group, is going through it, and you hear their stories, and y'all are going through all of those same emotions together, and seeing those that have gone past it that are still coming into those community events, and those community supported events is monumental, because you see where you are now. You have that warmth, you have that support, and I'm not saying that as just words. Those are feelings that you feel, and when you get those vibes, and you see that there's a tunnel or there's light at the end of the tunnel because somebody in that group has actually gone through it, then yes, community groups are very important.
And
Agreed.
can I add to that just a thought that Dr. Lucas brought to mind? Grief. When you're diagnosed as a breast cancer survivor, you have to take a moment to say the life that you once had is now going to be different. It's going to be different. And different is good. Different
Yes.
is good. Change is necessary. If it weren't, we'd all be babies. We'd never evolve, we'd never grow. Change is good. So embrace it. But do allow yourself to grieve a part of you that no longer will be available. Do
Sure.
you understand what I'm saying? Or if I need to elaborate, speak to me and tell me that. And I'll give you a funny story, right? I took a picture and I was using it on my LinkedIn and elsewhere. And my husband said to me, you know, you're not that person anymore. And immediately I got offended. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And when we had the discussion, he was right. I'm not that person. I'm this person now. Show up as yourself now. Don't try to show up as yourself back then. Show up as you are now and celebrate every single day. So I just wanted to put that out there.
True. Very well said. Very well. Great. And so, what advice, Kenyatta, would you give for survivors who are struggling to find support? Because I know that in US you have a lot of these self-help groups and support available, but in India these self-help groups are literally they're nowhere to be found. Very less. So what kind of suggestions would you give?
So, I always say the internet is not a local. So you're always, welcome to come to breast cancer survivorship. Like I said, we're here to talk. We're here to, send us an email, send us, call us. Now we're on WhatsApp, so WhatsApp us. So I would definitely say the community and the education and the information is there. If you need local support, like I said, reach out to to us or to any other organization. And the mission of for all of our organizations is to help. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter, what color you are or anything like that. We all have the same red blood. So I would definitely say go out and find those services. And the most important thing is like what you're doing with TechSci. It starts local. Start your own community. Start that conversation. On your website and on your LinkedIn website, you're starting to talk about the instances of breast cancer and all of that. Have those conversations because it has to start with someone. And just like how we're in America and you're in India, these are the types of things. You're not alone in this. We're a world community. We just have different labels when it comes to I guess geography. So yeah. So that's what I'll say.
Great. And can you share some success stories from your community?
Yeah. So definitely. So
Absolutely.
oh, do you want to go, Carmen? So I'll go really quickly and then I'll let
No,
Carmen go. So I would definitely say when we go into the community and we talk to people, And it's that, and I'll give you an example. We were at an event a couple of months ago, and a lady came up, and she was just like, she just started crying, and you could feel the emotion that she was going through. And in that emotion, she started talking about, her doctor and how she went to the doctor, and the doctor told her that it was in her head, that because she had pain, and that it was in her head. So, and she was, almost like shutting her out, because they thought that she just wanted medicine, pain medication. And it wasn't until she actually went there and the doctor finally listened to her and said, okay, we'll do something. So they finally found that she was basically in stage 4. And it was one of those things where her being able to shed that tear and share it with us in that moment was very genuine. And us being there shows that you're not alone. You don't have to keep these stories in. Please share them, because there's somebody else that's out there that's going through the same thing that you're going through. So those would be the successes, are the stories, and listening to the people and educating. I think we've done over close to 9,000 women. We've educated close to 9,000 women. So this is something that's the success. The success is getting to talk to, like I said, companies like Tuxai and you to spread the word. That's success. We've done our job. So I'll let you go, Harmon.
Yeah. And just last night I was at a conference of medical doctors, and it was in the community. And at the end, when everybody's leaving, this woman comes up to me and she says, I was diagnosed and I went through it much like your mother during COVID. She said, I left my job as an engineer, but I don't know what's next. And part of our job with the Breast Cancer Survivorship Foundation, like Dr. Lucas pointed out, we just listen to people. And then we try to give them inspiration. So I said to her, what do you feel in your heart? And she started crying. I don't know, maybe it's a crying thing, but she started crying. I said, well, what are the tears for? She said, because you've just said to me what I know to be true. I know I need to take, and then she elaborated on her next steps. But no one had conferred or um, just partnered with her in what she was experiencing. And part of the survivorship journey is to validate that what you're going through is real. It's very real, but you don't have to do it alone.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, how can family and friends best support a breast cancer survivor?
Well, I love this question, and it's a 3-letter word, ask. ASK. Don't assume. Don't just take things into your own hands of what you think should happen for that person. Just ask them, how can you support them? Sometimes people don't know what to do, so they do nothing. When I was diagnosed with my family, they almost pretended as if it wasn't happening, right? So I went to each one of them one by one and let them know, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here and I'm going to live. I'm going to thrive. And then they started to ask, what can we do to help you? So I learned that just getting people, encouraging them to ask what to do, if that helps.
Nice.
And
Great.
if you don't mind me also adding that it's not only the survivor that's going through it, it's
Mm.
if they're married, if it's their children, um, you know, the entire network is going through this. So it's important that those people in the family also are asked, are you okay? And I'll also add to what Carmen said, it's very important not to assume that what you would want is what they would want. It's almost like getting a slice of pizza. You may get a slice of pizza with pineapples and you may give it to me, be like, this is the greatest pizza ever. And I'm like, I'm allergic to pineapples, so I just wanted the cheese pizza. So I think that that's important as well, is not to assume that just what you want, like Carmen stated, is what they want, and like she said, to ask.
And I thought of something else. It's so personal because I know a very high official who got diagnosed at early on. I think she was in her 30s, and she had children, two children under 10. She decided she did not want to tell her children because she didn't want them to be fearful. So it's so personal how you navigate. But you do, as the person who's impacted, they make the decision how they want the family to engage. But then, as the supporter, like you're a son of a survivor, you know that you have to check on that person from time to time. You have to, like Dr. Lucas said, are you okay? And then you have to remember that life is so fragile and it's so short. Do the things that you've always wanted to do. Take the trip you've always wanted to take. Invest in yourself, invest in your family, include them in things as much as you can. Wanted to just add that, just a little tax.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very rightly said. So, moving forward, what are some of the common challenges survivors face when transitioning to life after treatment?
Well, that's a great question again, because some people, when you're diagnosed, you have this team of people around you, or you can have a team of people around you, and you're a priority. And then that's after you finish. It could be a year, it's usually 2 years. And then you have the 5 years where they're watching you. And then after the 5 years, maybe it's every other year. And I have found women, they're so used to all that attention, and then it goes away. So then what do? You have to make sure you stay connected. You stay connected in some community. And if you don't have the supports that are here in the US, make them. You can start with your neighbor. Every person you see when you're getting groceries, you can just strike up a conversation and say, hey, you know, what do you know about this? Does this impact you? Because 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. That's a fact, or that's a statistic. Additionally, every 12 seconds, I believe, or 15 seconds, a woman somewhere is being diagnosed with breast cancer. It is prevalent, it is present, it is part of our world. And I'll go back to it's 95% curable when detected early. This is a conversation. I'm so glad TechSci is doing what you're doing, because without you doing this, there are so many people who would suffer in silence. Now they know, hey, I can talk about this. I can ask a question. So what should they do after? Make sure that you're engaged in your own health, in your own well-being, and if you need to, form your own group. There are people who form mommy groups. There are people who form in a neighborhood, they call themselves the grandmothers, right? Some people, they're just the grandmothers because people are away from their paternal or maternal family. So these women serve as that elder voice for them. Find ways to give back. There's so many places to volunteer and to lend your strength. The one thing you must not do is isolate yourself and because that will just not go well for you. So those are some of the things I'd like to say. Just be engaged. And we welcome any and all at the Breast Cancer Survivorship Foundation. We have a place for anyone who wants to be a part.
Great, great. Thank you so much. That was really, really nice. So, how can survivors balance their health needs with other aspects of life?
Do I can take it in, let Carmen finish, or add. So when it comes to balance, balance ebbs and flows. Some days may be a priority, and some days are, our work is a priority, your family's a priority. But I think the constant that's in there is your priority.
Mm.
You're the one that, Jan Van Zant, she said something very, very that stays with me is selfish is not self it's not selfish to be it's not selfish to be selfless. She said something like that, which means you have to make sure that you are complete and that you have enough to give to other people. You can't give from an empty cup. So make sure that you're full. And if you need that time to step away and you don't have the capacity to give to someone else, say that, and definitely say, speak up and say that. When it comes to balance in general, especially with breast health and breast cancer, like Carmen stated, this is a journey. What may have been, a balance before is not the balance now. You may need more time to rest because you're having brain fog or something like that. So definitely pay attention, and just know that balance is okay. Balance is different, and it's okay to put yourself first. So that's what I'll say to that. Do you have anything to add, Carmen?
I do. With finding the balance, just remember it's only 24 hours. We all get the same 24 hours in a day, right? And we do need that time to sleep. And I'll go back and touch on the long-term effects of breast cancer, and that is your sleeping habits. Sometimes you'll wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and you can't sleep. So find something that you can do. I'm a reader, so I have books all over the house. I have them in every room. I'm usually reading three at a time, or have a puzzle, something that will relax your mind so that you can go back to sleep. But that whole thing of finding the balance, uh, asking for help. You can't do everything. If you were the person responsible for the meals, the upkeep of the home, managing the children, and also taking care of yourself, you have to come together as a family and say, okay, things are going to be different now. We're all going to need different assignments, and I'm going to need your help, asking for the help that you need to get through it, to keep yourself balanced. And as I hear the grandfather clock, how it goes off every now and then, right? It's time. There are just times when you'll swing a little to the right, and other times you'll swing a little to the left. But the balance is in the center. You will get back to center, and it's okay if you're a little to the right and if you're a little to the left. Life, people talk about balance, but the reality of it is where you're a little to the right, a little to the left, and we get to the middle every now and then, and that's a good thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very well said. So, how can survivors stay informed about the latest research and treatments?
Oh, that's a great one. Well, you got to stay close to TechSci. That's number one because they're right on the cutting edge in India. You got to stay close, or we'd like you to stay close to the Breast Cancer Survivorship Foundation because we're building out our website so that every time we learn about new technology, we're going to be adding it there. There are a number of agencies out there already that have a resource page. And I'll just mention these two really important ones. A lot of women don't get mammograms, which are recommended here in the US starting at age 40, earlier if risk factors warranted, but not everyone can afford or has access to a mammogram. So what do? You do your self breast exams once a month. If you can, you make sure you get a clinical breast exam. But at the same time, what you have to do is try to ask your doctor what's new in this space. I'll throw this out there. There are two companies that have come out with painless mammograms. Painless mammograms. I won't name them here and give them free press, but we will add them to our resource page on the Breast Cancer Survivorship Foundation.
Sure, great. So, how can survivors find meaning and purpose after cancer?
How can survivors find meaning and purpose after cancer? I can draw on my own in that You tap into what some people call it the sixth sense. I call it my trusted advisor. It's a part of me, it's who I am that guides me through my life. If people don't have that, it's probably, let's go back to what Dr. Lucas pointed out, that mindfulness, to sit quietly within themselves without any distractions, to try to focus on what that should be. And then don't allow fear to keep you from moving forward. Try the things that you've always wanted to try. I don't know about in India, but we used to do an exercise early on in our development with our schooling. And that is I am. And you fill it, you fill out I am. And you write all these things about yourself. If you didn't do that exercise, it's a good one to do. And you start writing about things down about yourself. Then you start saying, I will, and you start writing things about that you would do. Now, this was in my formative years, early on. And once I was diagnosed as a breast cancer survivor, I went back to that in my mind and said, what are the things that were on my paper that I still haven't done? And that's what I'm going to do. An example? Yeah, there you go.
And do you mind if I also add that diagnosis is a moment in time. It's one point. You are still the person that you are. Even though, like Carmen said, who you are before and who you after will change. But in embracing that, and knowing that you are definitely, you're here for a reason. The universe and God doesn't make mistakes. So you're here, as an example to other people, because men can get breast cancer too. So you're here for a reason. And your story is going to be inspirational. So I think that just knowing that, and not getting caught up in the labels, and just saying, what is my journey? Like I said, and you'll figure it out. Like I said, so don't stay in fear of that data point of afterwards. This is a continuous journey. This is a continuous journey.
Great, great. I truly, truly admire your passion towards it. So, what inspired you to become involved in breast cancer advocacy in the US?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. What inspired you to become involved in breast cancer advocacy?
Yeah.
The advocacy. Did you want to
Yeah.
take that, Dr. Lucas?
I can definitely go. Like I said, I do not have in my aunt. She was a breast cancer survivor. But as far as seeing that, because she actually had it when I was younger, so I really didn't pay attention too much. But what keeps me going now with the advocacy is just seeing the amount of women and men who don't know about breast cancer and about breast health. And the ones who if they don't talk about it, like Carmen said, they think it'll go away. And it's like, no, it's so much more. As well as I would definitely say the I'm not gonna say the lack of education, but when women or when people think of breast cancer and they think that they have breast cancer, they think that it's just, a lump. And you don't know how many women and how many men just think it's a lump. And it's like, no, it's dimpling, it's changing in the skin, it could be discharge, it could be these other things. So just getting that story out and educating women, and the passion of listening to a woman's story who this is the first time she's saying it out loud is what inspires at least me to go, and know that there's somebody else that needs to hear this message.
Yeah, and I'll just say, just candidly, uh, Black women have the highest mortality rate, meaning once diagnosed with breast cancer, they have a higher mortality rate than any other race of dying from this disease. And it is a disease that, when caught early, is 95% curable. So, in addition to that, not I feel, data has shown that there are so many biases that in the toward different ethnicities, different socioeconomic statuses, that how people are treated in the healthcare world. And we have found at the Breast Cancer Survivorship Foundation that there are groups of people that are underrepresented and that are underserved. Where you live should not determine if you live. And our goal is to get out and talk to women about something really important called risk factors. What are your risk factors for breast cancer? Well, if you're a woman, you're at risk. If you're a woman of color, you're at risk. If you have a family history, you're at risk. And if you're getting mammograms and they talk about something called breast density, and I'll tell a quick story. There was a woman who was a doctor, got her mammograms every year, and then one year they said, "Oh, Dr. Capella, you have breast cancer, and it's stage 4." Long story short, her breasts were dense, meaning the fibroglandular tissue has a way of hiding abnormalities, and we did not understand we needed better tools to be able to examine and personalize screening for women. So our advocacy work is all about talking about these factors, these risk factors, educating women and talking to them about, do you know your breast density? Are you being imaged or are you being screened in a personalized manner? Meaning, there's red lipstick, right? All women can't wear the same shade of red lipstick. We have to be personalized when it comes to screening mammograms as well. So I'll stop there. That all of that is really our launch pad to advocacy. We go to Capitol Hill, we partner with other organizations. It's like we're not an island, we're part of an ecosystem, as well as TechSci now is part of the ecosystem to bring awareness.
So Carmen, I wanted to ask you: have you met a woman who refused to take the treatment or your help? Have you encountered any such women, and how did you manage that?
You know what? You're going to think I'm making these stories up, but I'm not. In January, we flew out to California to an event with a well known oncology maker, a company called Varian. My Uber driver was an African American woman who I asked her, which is my manner, hey, what do you know about breast cancer? Quick story. She said, well, my mother died of breast cancer. And I said, well, have you gone to get screened or at least get a baseline? And she said, no, and I never will. And I said, well, why is that? She said, because I have 3 children. And I thought, okay, well, what's your name? What's your phone number? What's your email? Because I want to have a conversation with you. You have to think beyond you. You have children. You have a legacy. Your mother would not want you not to take care of yourself. So what do? All we can do is put the information out there. All we can do is not forget what we've heard and not assume someone else will take the responsibility to talk to that young lady. Somebody else may never say a word to her. But at the same time, we're respectful of people's rights. You have a right not to get treatment. You have a right to your opinion. You have a right to how and what you will do. And we respect that. But we have a right to also educate you, and we have a right to advocate for you if you need it.
Sure. So, do you face any setbacks or challenges in your advocacy group, and how do you handle them?
You want to take that one, Kenyatta?
So I don't. So from my experience, I have not received any setbacks or any faced any adversity when it comes to what we do. If anything, it's welcoming, and I'm always in the mindset of go towards the light. So even if it was there, I probably didn't pay attention to it because it is so much like there is so. I'm here for a greater purpose, and that is to help people. So all that negativity, almost like Jay-Z said, just brush it off your shoulder. That's what I do. So no, I haven't. I have not faced it, and if it has been there, I haven't acknowledged it. So I'll
Yeah.
see.
And I've been at this for a while, so I'll tell you, there's the pink side of it, right? And I'm going to say pink washing. There are people who think there's already so many organizations. Why do we need another one? Why do we need to do something? Why do we get all excited about this every October? Why? Because women are still dying, and they're dying at earlier and earlier ages. So that's a huge setback to prevent people from getting what we call pink wash, so that people don't just roll their eyes and say, oh, here we go again. Another October, they're going to ask me for money. They're going to ask me to do a walk. They're going to ask me to do stuff. That's always a setback. That's always a setback. And finding people who are as passionate as we are, who want to get in the fight, who want to help women, that's always a challenge, because there are a lot of obstacles that are there. And I sometimes stay up at night wondering, why isn't everybody excited about that? About this? You know why? Because without a woman, we cannot bring new life into this world. And if it affects a woman, it affects a family. And if it affects a family, it affects a community. And if it affects a community, it affects a country. This should be a number one priority. But that's just Carmen. That's just the Breast Cancer Survivorship Foundation. But that's a big setback. How do we get more people to see that this is a huge socioeconomic burden on society that we must address?
Right, great. So what advice do you have for people who want to get into, advocacy?
Bring your whole self.
Yeah, yeah.
Bring your whole self, bring your whole story. It doesn't matter if you're a breast cancer survivor or not. Like Dr. Lucas, we were colleagues at a company, and she's always been super technical and super analytical and super fun. And she just was the perfect person to say, will you help me? And she stepped right up and stepped right in.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'll also add, just start. It starts small. It was, like I said, Carmen reached out to me and asked me. I had never done anything like this. And it was one of those things where it was just like, okay, I'll do it. And we just celebrated our 3-year anniversary. So we've been doing this for 3 years, and it started with her, her thought and me coming in to support. So just start. Ask your friend, ask your neighbor, like Carmen stated. And just start. It starts with you, and if that is what your mission is, and what you're supposed to do, you'll do it. So.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Lucas. All right. And Carmen, thank you so much for sharing such wonderful insights. I truly enjoyed the conversation, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers who were listening to us, they were able to learn new things from you. So as we come close to this insightful and meaningful session, it's time to express our heartfelt gratitude. First and foremost, I would like to extend a sincere thank you to our esteemed speakers, Carmen Brown Marshall and Kenyatta Lucas. Your passion, dedication, and invaluable insights have deeply enriched this session. Carmen, your personal story and your tireless efforts with the Breast Cancer Survivorship Foundation have truly inspired us all. Kenyatta, your work in educating and empowering women for their breast health is admirable, and we are grateful for the knowledge you've shared with us today. Finally, a big thank you to all the attendees. Your presence and engagement are what makes initiatives like these successful. We hope that today's session has been informative and motivating, and that together we can continue to spread awareness and make a difference in the fight against breast cancer. As we leave today, let's remember that even the smallest action can make a significant impact. Thank you once again, and let's continue working together to create a healthier and more informed society. So, thank you. Thank you so much once again.
Yay, Texas!
Thank you.
Great day. Thank, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. And thank you and your team for sharing, sharing with us. It's really important. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.